is something we need. It's a leap of faith. Oh, if you have the will and the moment to spare, it's a beautiful world out there. It's a beautiful world out there.
Today we are starting our walk at Tyndrum. This small village is renowned as being the last place of civilization before hitting the Highlands. Today this service town acts as a resting point on the journey north into Scotland with the world famous Greenwelly stop, which although only a glorified and uniquely Scottish service station, it has a strange feeling when entering the town. But this is not unique to modern travellers. And in fact, Tyndrum has been a resting point heading into the Highlands for centuries and is best chronicled by William Wordsworth and his sister as they completed their tour of Scotland in the 19th century. Descended upon the whole, I believe very considerably in our way to Tyndrum, wrote Dorothy Wordsworth in her journal, making a world tour of Scotland with her brother in 1803. But it was a road of long ups and downs, over hills and through hollows of uncultivated ground, a chance farm perhaps in 1 in 3 miles. It was in addition raining. This inspired William Wordsworth to write his sonnet, suggested at Tyndrum in a storm, comparing British swans with their Arcadian equivalent. Rugged crags and mountain torrents had shaped the sensibility of the former, putting them in communion with the superhuman force of nature. Up, hardy mountaineer, and guide the bard ambitious to be one of nature's privy council as thou art, on cloud-sequestered heights that see and hear, to what dread powers he delegates his part, on earth who works in the heaven of heavens alone. More prosaically, they found the inn at Tyndrum to be better than the reports they had heard of it. We had a moor fowl and mutton chops for dinner, well cooked and reasonably charged. The house was clean for a Scotch inn, and the people about the doors were well dressed, which goes some way to dispel the impressions given by another traveller who wrote of the inn's unspeakable badness and dirt. Tyndrum was used to catering. It was a crossroads. What is now the A82 from Glasgow carries on northwards to Fort William, while the A85 branches off to Oban and Inveraray. The Wordsworths had come on foot, but it could also be reached by coach. Later it acquired the distinction of 2 railway stations, reflecting its status once again as a crossing point. One station served the West Highland Railway heading to Fort William, the other to Callander and Oban. Physically they are separated by only a few hundred yards, but the route would have taken 10 miles by rail. On some marks, Tyndrum was even marked bigger than Edinburgh. At Tyndrum, the first pulse of human life is felt, Hugh Macmillan wrote in a guidebook in 1901. No doubt he sank with gratitude into the large hotel, which rose above the cottages, mean and thatched, built to house the lead miners, later gold prospectors, that had been the settlement's original inhabitants. It was still an awesome spot. Macmillan noted the little church standing by itself, presumably the one to St Fillan's, survivor of a monastery established by Robert the Bruce, out of gratitude for St Fillan's arm, one of the relics carried before him into the Battle of Bannockburn. Even in 1901, 200 lunatics would come every year to immerse themselves in St Fillan's pool. It had previously been the practice to tie them up afterwards and leave them overnight on the site of a former church. Others would have the bell of St Fillan's placed on their heads. But these human features only accentuated the loneliness, Macmillan continued. The gigantic scenery around and the universal stillness seemed to swallow them up and to make them parts of the great overwhelmed realm of nature. You could bet he had read Wordsworth. The village's origins date back to the days when the droves of Highland cattle from the north and west passed through en route to the markets in central Scotland, bringing lots of tired, hungry and thirsty drovers with them. The village did benefit from local lead mining and briefly a gold rush, but its core role as a way station was re-established with the arrival of the two railways. Indeed, in the 1970s, Tyndrum seemed to have two of everything. 2 railway stations, 2 hotels, and 2 petrol stations. The passage of time has undermined the arithmetic. More hotels have been added and 1 petrol station has disappeared. The village has steadily become more developed over the decades, but it remains very clearly focused on providing a range of services for passing traffic, whether road or rail-borne, or by coach. Tyndrum is built over an ancient battlefield. In 1306, the Battle of Talree took place between Clan MacDougall and Robert the Bruce, resulting in a rare defeat for Robert's forces. To allow a hasty retreat, it is reported that Robert ordered his men to discard their heavy weapons into a nearby loch, now aptly named the Loch of the Legend of the Lost Sword, after Robert's own massive sword that was reputed to have been over 6 foot in length. A small stone bench is now placed on the West Highland Way at the site of the battle. It is also reported that another famous Scottish figure, Rob Roy, had a close call escaping from the rear window of a local village inn, whilst his pursuers entered via the front door.